Hello and welcome back to my channel where I like to have fun with all things beauty while being critical about what I accept into my collection. Today is my primer and setting spray declutter and ranking. Like always, I start these videos out with my favorite products up front, so you don't have to skip to the end to see what I like the best. These are all of my favorite products across all categories, but I am going to start with my primers, so I'm gonna get rid of my two favorite setting sprays. I'm also going to start with my eye primers to get those out of the way. I am unfortunately missing two, but they're not really my favorites anyway. So I have the Urban Decay Primer Potion, both the anti-aging and the regular version. I will use both of those up when I find them, but they're not really my favorite anyway. What I look for most when it comes to an eyeshadow base is something to just smooth my lids out and make the color unified. So like a clean canvas. I don't have oily eyelids, so I don't really need a primer to help combat that. I don't struggle from creasing or fallout or any of those things. So I'm really looking for a very basic eye primer. Actually, I prefer a smoothing primer to a sticky base because I don't like struggling with blending over that if certain eyeshadows don't work well with a sticky base. So the easiest eye primer that I found across the board is this MAC Paint Pot. I love this thing. I plan on repurchasing this. Unfortunately, mine is starting to dry out, so I plan on getting this in the next Ulta 21 Days of Beauty sale. That's often included. I hope it is again during the next sale, because this is my across the board favorite eye primer. My second favorite is this Nars Concealer. I have this in light 2.5 Creme Brulee. This is almost perfect. It's just a little bit emollient. So for most eyeshadows, that's fine. I'll put this on and then I'll put a dusting of setting powder on top and I'm good to go. It's just once in a blue moon I come across an eyeshadow where this isn't the best with, but it is nice and hydrating. What I'm actually doing now is I'm mixing both because this is a little bit too dry for me and this is a little bit emollient. I find the combination is chef's kiss, but I do plan on repurchasing the Painterly. My third favorite primer is this from Sigma. What I love so much about this is the delivery system. It being in a stick, that makes it so easy to put on the eye, get in the inner corner, and then I just tap it out with my finger and it's great, good to go. After that, I probably enjoy this Pat McGrath Artistry wand. I don't really use glitter glue. I don't have loose eyeshadows. All of my glitters usually come in some sort of sticky base, so I don't really need it. This is enough for me if I just need a little bit extra tack. If I need way more than that, then I'll definitely use the Urban Decay Primer Potions. Next up, we have the face primers. I think the number one most important thing to talk about with primers and even the setting sprays that I have in my collection, it's skin type. That's what matters more than anything else, skin type and preference. I feel like everybody has their own list of priorities in terms of what they're hoping to achieve with their skincare, and that includes primers under makeup. So for me, my number one concern is hydration. After that, aging skin, fine lines, texture, that kind of thing. And number three is probably my sensitivity. You know, I can't just pick up anything and use it. There are ingredients that I have to watch out for and I have to avoid with my skin. So with all of that figured out, my primers are going to be a direct reflection of my preferences. I'm not looking for pore filling primers or mattifying primers because I really don't need to correct for that. I have very much the opposite problem. So my favorite primer, hands down, is the Bobbi Brown. That being said, I got this in a set. The eye base is for under the eyes. So this is not an eyeshadow primer. This is very much an under eye primer. I would not buy this again. So this I will declutter, well, because it's empty. What I ended up doing is once I finish this, I use this as a face primer. So I used it and I would always use it if I have it, but I will be letting go of that one and I will be just replacing this one eventually. Right now, I only have the mini because I got spoiled getting this for 50% off. And this past year, I was not able to find it at 50% off. That being said, I will hold out and I will wait for a sale because I don't think there's anything in here that makes it worth the high price point. It is a moisturizer. At the end of the day, it is just a moisturizer. So I can't justify what they charge for it at full price. I can't justify picking it up at 20% off either. I need a sale better than that. I'm looking for 40 or more and then I'll buy it again. In the meantime, the thing I've gotten to replace it is this from Embryolisse. It's the most similar that I have to this. The biggest difference is the Bobbi Brown is slightly thinner. So the reason I like it so much is it just lays down a flat canvas for me to put foundation on top. And when I'm doing my makeup, I don't want to think that hard. I don't want to be worrying about what has silicone, what has oil, what's going to clash, what's going to pill. What I always loved about the Bobbi Brown is it worked with everything. I never came across any foundation or any other base product formula that clashed with this, and it went on top of my skincare. I know a lot of people can just use skincare as their last step and they're good to go. Either that or sunscreen. There are definitely some sunscreens that make fabulous primers. Because I struggle so much with hydration, I use so much skincare that I will admit I do like having a moisturizer like this that has a very flat finish, that's not going to be greasy. I don't really know how to explain it better than that. Even if I have super greasy skin, somehow when I would put the Bobbi Brown or the Embryolisse on top, it smooths it out and then it keeps it from pilling or interfering with whatever goes on top. I don't really know the science behind or the chemistry that makes that work the way it does. And it's probably my very simplistic anecdotal experience with it, but that's why I like these. They're just hydrating and they make my makeup easy. One that I have that is similar to these is the Charlotte Magic Cream. My hang up with this is the price point is just ridiculous in my opinion, and it doesn't quite lay as flat as the Bobbi Brown. Where I can see justifying this, I can't see justifying this, even though it's a similar product. So this is also empty. I've had a few of these, so I feel like I've used at least one full jar of it over the years, and I just didn't love it that much. All right, after that, I probably liked this Victoria Beckham. I have it in both the original and the bronzing version. I liked this primer. It was enjoyable to use, but it didn't do anything to warrant the high price point. I bought this out of sheer curiosity. I waited for a sale and I got the small size and bowl. So it's only 30 ml, 1 ounce. I went through it pretty quickly, but all it was nice. So for nice, I can't justify purchasing either of these again. These are going in the declutter pile, but I am super picky and they were enjoyable. So if I ever saw these discounted, I could absolutely justify buying these again. I just wouldn't go out of my way. After that, I probably like the Freck Rich Bitch the best. This, I have to say, is the only one that is slightly harder to use with everything. It has snail mucin. If you're familiar at all with snail mucin, it very much feels like snail mucin. However, it does sink into the skin. The only thing I didn't love about this is after it sinks into the skin, it sort of leaves an oily residue on top, which on one hand is hydrating. So it does leave a glowy look behind. However, I am getting glow in every single step of my makeup and I am finishing with a glowy setting spray. So on a daily basis, this is way too much. The only time I really feel like I reach for this is if I'm using a sunscreen that is drying on my skin. That's the reason I don't rely solely on sunscreen as my primer, because I sort of want to layer underneath that to really lock my hydration in. Because even with my most hydrating K-Beauty sunscreens, I can still sometimes run into an issue with dry skin. So if I put this underneath it, I'm good to go. That really does counteract that dryness. However, it's not the only way I can do that. Another primer that I just recently picked up is this Nars Light Reflecting. So this is a primer that's just good, not great. It's not that hydrating. So what I can do is I can take something like my Thorn oil and put a drop of this in here, and then it sort of has a similar effect to that. That's just a roundabout way of saying I feel like this is a little bit similar to an oil primer. It just has another layer of hydration in it. Oil primers work great for a lot of people. I think if you're somebody who likes an oil primer, this would probably work great for you. It's not something that I'm gonna repurchase because I can't use it with everything, and that's really what I want out of my primers. Last on my list is this Thorn oil, and this will last me forever because I never use it more than 1 drop at a time. I can't use this all over my face. But what it's great for especially is for extra dry skin, just in one spot, a single drop of this and I'm done. It's taken care of. I've tried to make this work using it all over my face and it's too much. It's too much with everything else that I'm already using, but because I like having it, I always want to have some kind of facial oil. Using it the way I do, I don't think it's necessary that I have this particular oil. I think I can replace it with a much cheaper one eventually when I'm finished. But I was able to get this on sale. I think I got this at almost 50% off at Ulta at some point. So I would say definitely keep an eye out. It's worth picking up at that price. At full price, I don't think so. After these primers, I would probably rank this because it is appropriate for my skin. This is the Light Reflecting Hydrating Primer. It says all the right things. I love the Light Reflecting Foundation, so I waited for 25% off and then I jumped on trying this because I was just curious. It's just fine. I have some B-roll because when this came out, I was really excited about it. But when I run out, sadly, I won't be buying this again. It's just nice. It's not great and it doesn't bring enough hydration to the table to make it something that I would consider going forward. It also is supposed to have some kind of a blurring effect to the skin. I don't think it did that. I get that it has these little, reflex in it. But I don't find that once foundation is on my face that actually has a blurring effect at the end of the day. I will include photos of this versus just my Bobbi Brown on its own so you can, make your own determination there. But I personally just don't really feel like it delivered. And because of that, I'm glad I tried it. I'll absolutely use it up, but I won't buy it again. Okay, next up is my tier 2. So none of these are repurchases. They're not bad enough to declutter, except for this one because of age. That's an age thing. But I won't be getting rid of any of these, but I won't be repurchasing them either. This I got for free from Credo Beauty. Exa is their house brand. This is a hydrating primer that's supposed to be blurring and pore filling. I think if you are somebody that struggles with large pores and dry skin, maybe look into this. For me though, it just didn't really do that much in terms of smoothing out my skin, but it was hydrating enough that I will reach for it eventually and I will use it up. After that, another one that I like enough to finish, but I wouldn't repurchase is this from Saie. This is like the bronze version of the Lumi Glowtion. I think this is a great product to try if you are really interested in something like the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter. You don't want to spend the money on that, but you just want to kind of test it out on your skin. This is great for that because I have both and I feel like this genuinely works the same. This was proof to me that I don't really need this in my makeup routine. It's fine as a moisturizer, but once I have all of my foundation and powder on, I don't think I see a difference enough to buy that again. The Saie has some nice skincare in it. I would have not purchased the bronze version, but this came with the Sephora set, so I'll work my way through it, but I won't repurchase that. One that I'm surprised by is this Milk Hydrogrip Primer. I was surprised that this worked for me. All the commercials and all of that make it look very sticky, so I thought that would be uncomfortable. It wasn't though. It was hydrating and nice. I don't think it made a difference in longevity though. So for me, if I don't see a difference in longevity, I'm not gonna go through the extra effort of using this when I can just use a simple moisturizer that works better for me. This NYX Marshmallow Primer was fine. You know, this had a viral moment, I think on TikTok, I don't even know, but it's just fine. Like, it's hydrating, okay, but it didn't really work as well as my other primers, so I'll use it up, but I won't repurchase. This from Athr Beauty, I'm really only bringing up because they're coming back. I know they're coming back with eyeshadow. I don't know if they're bringing this back, but I grabbed this during their fire sale, I think for like $4 and change. It's just so pretty to look at. That's the only reason I got it though. Me not being an oil primer person, I probably won't use this. I won't throw it away because it's so pretty to look at. This is a wetter oil than the Thorn oil. The Thorn oil is definitely drier. This leaves more grease behind for sure, but it's still pretty. I might use it when I finish my Thorn oil in the same way I use that. And finally, I have all the rest. So these are primers that I'm sort of holding on to, but as they increase in age, I will absolutely be getting rid of 100% of these. One that I'm gonna throw away now is this from Beauty Blender because this is old. This is for pore filling. And you know, to use these, you have to really take your time. Like, that's why I got these putty primers from e.l.f. because they function in much the same way. You sort of pat them into your pores and then you strategically put foundation on top. I've never been able to do that successfully, and that's probably because of my dry skin. My skin being so dry is the only reason that none of these worked for me. None of these are inherently bad, and I know for a fact that they work for a lot of people. The Luminous Silk calls itself a hydrating primer, but I found this very drying. I also find the Luminous Silk foundation drying, so if you needed any more proof that I have very dry skin, I don't think I've ever heard anybody call Luminous Silk drying, but it is drying for me. The Surratt is another one that really dried me out. And then the rest of these just are not made for me. This Tarte, that's another pore filler, that's a pore filling. And the Le Base Pro, this I got for 50% off during one of the Ulta sales. And it's like 100% silicone, so it really leaves a cool finish on the skin. When you smooth it out, it just makes your skin feel so completely smooth, but you have to be careful with how you use face products over top. And I've just never been able to make that work for me personally. I think the YSL is extremely similar. As somebody who has texture, even though I don't have pores, I would like to figure that out at some point, so I'll be holding on to those. But at this point in my makeup journey, I really don't know how to make those work. This Tula needs to be decluttered. It's gotten too old and it's just not hydrating enough. Milk Makeup, mattifying. Definitely don't need that. This I got for free in an advent calendar. I believe this is a European brand, Rouge Bunny Rouge. It just looks awful on me. It's not just the color, it just doesn't sit nice. So I don't really understand what the deal is with this one. I think I kept it because it had interesting ingredients in it, but honestly, I'll have to look that up, but I would not suggest that. I'm not sure who that would work for actually. And then these two are both declutters. So this from Rituel, the Rose Gold Line Filler and the Trish McAvoy Line Filler. I guess similar to a pore filling primer, you're supposed to be able to put this into lines and sort of tap it in and have it fill in lines. I don't know. I mean, most of the lines I have going on in my face are dynamic, so they move with my face. So any kind of filler is not going to be left in place. So anytime I messed with something like these, they really just pilled and rolled away and were useless. So I wouldn't recommend buying those. Now I'll get into the setting sprays. So these are my two favorite setting sprays. I'm gonna stand this up because it keeps rolling away. But the Hourglass Veil is #1. That's my favorite. It's way too expensive for what it is. That being said, this one single can that's 4 ounces has lasted forever. I don't know how to explain it because I'm liberal with it. I've gone months where I was using it every day and covering my whole face. Like, I would really go to town with this, and the fact that I'm still on my first can is really shocking to me, but I love the sprayer. It, to me, is somewhat similar to Fix Plus, except it's a little bit less hydrating and it's thinner. So while I do sort of miss the hydration from this, I like the fact that I can just mist this all over my face and walk away and be done. I've gotten myself in trouble with the Fix Plus, mostly because of the spray nozzle. I hate the spray nozzle. The fact that they're coming out with a new version of this with an updated bottle, I am thrilled, and I can't wait to buy that because I hate this so much. It spits. And I understand, I've heard makeup professionals talk about the fact that it won't leave droplets on your skin if you use enough. You're supposed to drench your whole face and then let it dry, and then you won't have the like raindrops on your face. But I feel like even when I use as much of this as I physically can, I still get splotches from it sometimes. And it's just because this sprayer is too thick. This is so much nicer. The fact that you can't see it is proof of how fine this mist is. So I love this. Do I notice any soft focus aspect? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not at all. I don't notice that. But I notice that it makes my powder melt in with my makeup, and that's what I'm looking for. I do feel like it does extend longevity more so than the Fix Plus, but I think that's a trade-off of losing a little bit of the hydration factor. So if I am looking for longevity, I'm going with the Veil. If I'm looking for hydration, I'm going with the Fix Plus, and it's really as simple as that. The newest setting spray into my collection that to me is the most similar to the Hourglass Veil is the Nars Light Reflecting. I also have some B-roll of this. I was very excited to try this because I love the light reflecting line. However, just like the primer, I won't be repurchasing this because I didn't think it added anything to my setting spray collection. It's just that simple. It acted very much like the Hourglass, but even less hydrating than the Hourglass. And because of that, for a few extra dollars, I'm going with the Veil. I also think it's a better value because there's a whole nother ounce in here. This is only 3 ounces. The primer too is really small. This primer is only 1 ounce for a full size. So it's not a great deal. This being a 3-ounce setting spray, full size, that's not a great deal either. So as much as I enjoy this and I will use it up, I'm definitely not buying it again. All right, second tier, Charlotte Tilbury. People go nuts for this. I think it's just okay. I find it a little bit drying though. I don't notice anything in terms of lasting anything. Not lasting makeup, not lasting hydration. I actually don't find this hydrating. I'll use this if I'm going outside on a hot day, but I don't actually think it makes a difference. One that shocks me is this from Morphe. I have bought exactly one thing from Morphe in my entire life, and it's this setting spray. And I actually like it, which I'm even more shocked by. It's a setting spray, it's not a finishing spray. A lot of times I end up liking finishing sprays because I don't want my makeup set with hairspray. Like, I have dry skin, so I can't use anything with alcohol in it. Yet somehow I can use this no problem. So unlike the Charlotte Tilbury, which is supposed to help with longevity and doesn't, this actually does. So if I'm really gonna be outside, I'll use this, and I love the sprayer. It's a continuous mist, so despite the fact that this one's $50 and this I probably got for $2, I think the mister is even nicer. That continuous fine mist is just, it's fabulous. So because of that, I could see myself buying that again. It's not one that I reach for often, but when I need it, that's one that I like. To me, it functions similar to the All-Nighter, the Urban Decay All-Nighter, but it's a little bit less drying, although I can actually get away with this. I was shocked. I certainly can't use the mattifying version, but this version I can actually use. That being said, this tiny small sample is enough for my lifetime because of how often I actually leave the house. But if I was gonna be outside in the heat, yeah, I would probably reach for either this or the Morphe, and it would increase the longevity of my makeup. The thing that I am most excited about is trying the new versions of this. I know that they've recently come out with hydrating versions, and I do really want to try those next. That's top of list to try. These two from Tatcha, this is really skincare. I have the Satin Skin Mist and the Luminous Dewy Skin Mist. I keep them in my setting spray drawer because in my mind I think of them as finishing sprays, but they're really just hydrating mists, and that's where they belong. When I put this on top of makeup, they don't break up my makeup like some of my other mists do, but they don't add anything either. They do assist in melting powder into my foundation, and the misters are quite nice. I mean, they can spit, as you can see. I don't know, they're somewhat enjoyable, but I certainly wouldn't buy either of those again. And finally, we have all of my other skin mists that don't belong in my setting spray drawer, but that's where I have room for them. These are just things that I tried to use as finishing sprays over the years. So, you know, I'm sure I got this as a gift with purchase, the Clinique Moisture Surge Spray, very similar to the Tatcha. Same with this from Algenist. They do call this a hydrating setting mist, but I don't think it really functions that way. I think it's a finishing mist that adds hydration, and a little is okay, but too much will break makeup up. I got the e.l.f. Glowy Dewy Mist because I was just so curious. I feel like I can use this as like a spray-on moisturizer, but this is not going on top of makeup, not without ruining it. Maybe I could use it as a makeup remover. I could see it functioning that way, but that's about it. Then I have this from Nomad. I just picked this up. This is very nice and hydrating, not for over makeup. The Peach and Lily Glass Skin Veil. I love the sprayer of this. It's so thin. I would never throw this bottle away. I will absolutely reuse this bottle because the mist is so nice, but it's just nice. I think I like this a little bit more than the Tatcha, but I would not repurchase. And finally, the Fresh Vitamin Nectar Antioxidant Water. I'm not really sure why I bought this, but I need to leave it in my bathroom and use it as just a hydrating spray because not for over makeup. Same for this. This has no business being in my setting spray drawer because this is skincare. This is Superoxide Dismutase, the Saccharide Mist. This is antioxidants. It's really good for an extra layer of environmental protection, but it's absolutely best used on bare skin or just on top of skincare, not on top of makeup. So that finishes us out. I have to admit, I am thrilled to be through with this series because I definitely did this in order of my most to least liked products. So I started with eyeshadow. I am an eyeshadow junkie. I absolutely adore eyeshadow. So my first videos were going through my eyeshadow collection and I was so pumped. Then I did my favorite base products and I was really into that. Then I started getting into the weeds with stuff that I don't really love. So that's why these videos were harder to make. I do plan on revisiting all of these products in the future, but I do feel good about having a baseline. So when I go over all of my products that I purchased in 2024, I can talk about what my old favorites were and really reference that and have something to build on going forward. I also know some of my eyeshadow videos, the quality is quite shaky. Those were literally my first videos ever, and I still don't know what I'm doing. I absolutely don't know what I'm doing now, but I really didn't know what I was doing then. So thank you for your patience. If you're interested in any of these, and please feel free to ask questions about anything. If you want more information about any of the products here. I like to always have a lot of B-roll, and I know for these products I don't, because at the end of the day, they're clear and put side by side, they all basically look the same. So I really didn't have a lot of content for this. But if you want to see comparisons or close-ups of anything mentioned, please always feel free to ask in the comments. I absolutely always try to be on top of my comments. If I ever miss one, leave another comment, because I promise you it's because I didn't receive the notification. I was under the impression that I was seeing all of my comments until somewhat recently, and I do try to go back and check. But I will admit, older videos, I'm not checking the comment section on a regular basis. So absolutely, I want everybody to know that if they ever leave a comment, I am always meaning to see it and respond. So with that being said, my final video in this series will be my brush video. I am waiting to film that for when all of my brushes are clean. I plan on doing that next week, and then after that, my finale will be all of my favorites of every product across the board, from start to finish. And before you know it, we'll be into fall makeup. I have to admit, living in such a hot climate, I'm already fantasizing about what I'm gonna be for Halloween, because I just want the cooler weather. I'm not looking forward to all of the sales, because I don't even think it's slowed down this summer. Typically, we have some months where there's not much going on and there's not a lot of sales. I feel like there's a sale every week, and it's just constant, and it's a lot to keep track of. So that's why I try to do this. I try to put reviews out of things that I've wasted my money on, so you don't have to, and make it worth something. So with all of that being said, I hope everyone is having a fabulous week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.